Thank you. I'd like to call the September 29th meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded and ask if there's anyone in the audience who is also recording this meeting. Seeing none, if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd also like to announce that this meeting is not going out live. It is being recorded for future broadcast due to the changeover of charter. The town channels are not available live, so this meeting is being recorded and again will be made available for future broadcast. First item we have is public comment, and we have Norman LaFlash. Mr. LaFlash? Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. It's good to come before you again. I don't get up here that much anymore, so it's good to come back. And the reason I'm coming back officially tonight is for the Auburn Youth Commission. I know that we have another town meeting coming up, and back in the spring, we had asked for an additional $15,000 in our budget. Our budget has been $110,000 for the last 6 years, we have been contracted to maintain with Auburn Youth and Family Services to provide contracted services, including counseling at both the high school, middle school, after-school programs that they do. They have anger management groups. They have different things like that. Self-awareness groups for younger children coming up. And over the last 6 years, the amount that we've been budgeted has not actually adequately funded these services that we've asked them to provide. Over this time, the demand for these services has actually increased 10, 20 times what they were doing, because not only were we going through economic hard times, the families and other people were, and that puts an extra strain on Auburn Youth and Family Services. So at this time coming up, for the next town meeting, we would like to ask again for that additional $15,000 in funding. The biggest deficit, the biggest gap that we see is in both middle school and high school counseling. We have a number of students that are referred to Auburn Youth and Family Services through the contract that we have to provide them, and the cost of these services has gone up, and the demand and the number of people that are using these services has also increased over that time. So at this time, I would like to formally ask that we could stay in line, and we voted to ask for this additional $15,000. The reason we asked for that increase is because we maintained, even though with the increase that we've had on services and demand, we have not asked for an increase in our budget over the last 6 years. And at this time, we would like to ask for that. The amount will not cover the amount of services that we asked them to provide, but it will close the gap. And it will take a little bite out of the gap. It will not close it even to where it's close to being covered to what we need. So at this time, I would like to ask you to consider covering and granting us that $15,000 increase for our budget for next year.
Thank you.
For this fiscal year.
Okay. So that's, that issue is in Article 2 of the town meeting warrant that we'll be taking up later. Thank you, Mr. LaFlash.
Thank you.
Are we at 7:05 officially? Are we at 7:05 officially?
7:04.
Okay, we just need to wait a minute until we're at 7:05 for the 7:05 hearing. There's no other item we can take up. Just let me know when it's 7:05. That goes to Sharon.
7:05.
Thank you. We have a 7:05 hearing for a telephone pole relocation, a petition by Verizon New England Incorporated, Massachusetts Electric, National Grid on Washington Street. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is open. Is there a representative for the hearing? If you could come up and give your name for the record and tell us why you're here tonight.
My name's Kellyanne Condon. I represent Verizon, and we're just petitioning to move this existing pole over 15 feet from its current location, easterly from where it is, more toward Prospect Street. This is to accommodate the new driveway for Herb Chambers.
Okay. Thank you. Do board members have any questions or comments? Okay, the abutters have been notified. They are, appear to be all businesses, the majority of them being Herb Chambers as an abutter. So are there any abutters here? Is there any public comment? Do you have anything else you want to add? Okay. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Is there a motion regarding the petition?
I'll make a motion to approve the pole relocation from its current location to 15 feet over.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thanks so much for coming in. The next item we have is Board of Selectmen general items, and it's the town meeting warrant that we're here tonight to take action on. So, the first article is just here on reports. Article 2 is to see if the town meeting will vote to amend Article 2 of the May 6, 2014 annual town meeting as follows: increase line item 015412-5480 minibus gas from $6,500 to $10,500. Increase line item 014222-581330 DPW landfill water gas monitoring from 0 to 13,000. Increase line item 015422-538602 youth commission youth activities from 110,000 to 117,500. Reduce line item 011992-5740 insurance and bonds from 66,087,000 to 672,000. Reduce line item 015432-5780 veterans relief from 63,000 to 58,000. Reduce line item 019110-5172 unemployment compensation from 75,000 to 70,000. And further, to approve an amended fiscal year 2015 budget for the town of Auburn of $52,341,748. Mr. Kazanovich, did you want to address this article?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. I just want to let you know, at the conclusion of the annual town meeting, we had approximately, at the time, $25,000 of unobligated, unappropriated monies that were not identified at that point in time. We thought it would be in the town's best interest to at least wait until the final cherry sheet numbers came in before any further recommendations were to be made. As a result of the final state budget and the cherry sheet revenue and assessments that are part of the FY15 budget, we actually lost a revenue source of $38,000. We actually had increased revenue of $82,232, but our state assessments went up by $95,000. Almost $96,000 above and beyond what we used when we went to the annual town meeting. And our offsets on the cherry sheet increased by 25. So when you net all that out, it really was a hit to the revenue side of the budget by $38,000. That brought us from a balance of 25 to a negative 14. So we actually started $14,000 out of the gate that we had to make up just to stay even with the action of town meeting. There were some additional requests made that you will see. We try to mitigate those increases against reductions in Article 2. We actually reduced Article 2 by a total of $25,000, offset by increases of $24,500. So Article 2 actually went down by $500, but able to meet some of that additional need through an offset in the existing budget. There are some additional funding articles that are before you tonight that would be made up through a small increase in local receipt side. And we do have some additional new growth above and beyond what we had projected. It has been the board's policy and practice over the last several fiscal years to use that increase in new growth as a way to mitigate any offset that the board may be considering in terms of its position on classification, and that will come before you in November. It is part of our financial policies that we would reserve anything in excess of 400 as a way to mitigate that continued movement. Do not know what the board's position is. Board could choose to appropriate a portion of that for any need that has been identified, such as the request made by the Auburn Youth and Family Services. But we have been given some parameters by the board. We're living by those parameters. That being the case, our recommendation would stand as recommended in these articles before you tonight.
Do any board members have any questions? Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah. I know that Mr. LaFlash came up and made a presentation tonight about his youth activities from $110,000. It's an increase of $7,500. I would like to take a look at those numbers further, and at this point, I'd like to recommend that we take no position and wait for recommendation at town meeting, just prior to town meeting, so we can find out what the actual numbers are, especially in light of the report that Eddie has given us so far.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is. It's
Is
a
there a
motion.
second? Is there a second to take no motion till town meeting?
Second.
So we're under discussion. Is there discussion?
If I
Yes.
may?
Yeah.
My only concern about any consideration above and beyond what has been recommended is the precedent it may set for other departments whose needs we have not met. So if this were to come out of new growth, or in essence, tax levy, then I believe other requests are going to be made that are going to suggest why this and not ours. So just a cautionary comment for the board.
So the motion is to take no action on this until our meeting prior to town meeting. So we will be having a meeting to take, a vote on those. Is there anyone here? I know you have several here. Is there anyone else who wants to speak to the Auburn Youth and Family Services budget? Right now, the motion on the floor is to take no action regarding this tonight until we get further information.
I'd be happy to speak, thank you.
Certainly.
I'm Bill Mahoney, I'm the volunteer treasurer of Auburn Youth, and I'm also, my family and I have been a resident of Auburn for over 30 years. So you've seen us around town a little bit, I guess. I don't want to repeat what Norman said, but just to follow up on a couple of his points. We've actually calculated the true cost of providing all the services that we do under the town contract, and we our costs really far exceed the $110,000 that is paid under the contract. Depending upon how you look at it, we estimate upwards to $160,000 to $180,000 is probably our true cost to that. And we make up the shortfall by applying for grants and also a series of fundraising events, which many of you have participated in over the years. So we appreciate that. And while these fundraising events have been very successful, it's getting harder and harder each year to raise money outside. And we still find ourselves in a very difficult position financially. The need for our services continues to grow, yet our revenues do not. We don't have any reserves to fall back on when cash flow is short. Quite often we find ourselves not paying certain bills that we should be paying, and until the cash comes in. So we are, again, my point is we don't have any reserves to fall back on. So In the last 5 years, we've run deficits 3 out of the 5 years. The last 2 years, we've managed to eke out a small surplus, but this past year that ended in June, it was $2,000 surplus, which we're thankful for that, but it's not enough to make up for the deficits we've had previous. So it is a very difficult financial situation that we're in. So we come to you tonight and thank you for your consideration of the additional funds, if that is possible. We believe the agency is delivering much more in terms of services than we're actually contracted to do so, but these are critical services, and I'm sure if you talk to people in the school department, you'll find some support for the services that we provide in terms of counseling to the middle school, to the high school, and so forth. So we thank you for your attention and ask you for your support in providing whatever you can for us. Thanks very much.
Thank you. So the motion on the floor right now is to take no action on this evening. So, you know, for myself, I want to get additional information. I know that you've been funded the $7,500, so the ask actually isn't the $15,000. It's an additional $7,500 above and beyond what you have requested. And I'd also like to, for me personally, have an opportunity to have a discussion with Dr. Bunnell regarding these services. So having just had it presented to us tonight by you, I will support Mr. Holstrom's motion so that I have the opportunity to get additional information. We meet before town meeting to take positions on any warrant articles that we take no position tonight. So we will, if the motion is supported, we'll take action on this article prior to town meeting. Are there any other board questions or comments?
Just a question on the veterans relief. Is the $5,000 reduction to fund the tax write-off program?
No, this is the regular qualifying hardship medical relief that veterans have under MGL. The $5,000 for the work-off program would come out of a overlay account, so that money is already basically in reserve to fund that program.
So there's going to be $5,000 less to help them this year?
Well, what we do is, based upon our level of activity, we estimated going into the annual town meeting, a level of cost consistent with the amount of claims that we're paying on a weekly, monthly, and projected out over annual basis. The current claims are down. We're actually running at about a $35,000 annual expense, but that can change overnight. So based upon the first quarter, we believe even with a $5,000 reduction, we would have adequate funds to get us through the remaining balance of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no further questions, all those in favor of holding it, taking no position and making a recommendation at town meeting, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, so voted. Articles 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are articles by the school committee or the school buildings committee, so I'd like to invite Dr. Brunel and whoever you choose to invite up with you. Thank you. And although we know who you have with you, if you'll make the introduction so that the people at home will know who they are.
Definitely. So with me is Mr. Howie Barber, our new business manager as of July 1st, and Mr. Joe Fahey, our director of facilities.
Mr. Fahey?
So thank you, members of the board, for hearing. Do you want me to go through these or answer questions? What would the format be that you'd like?
I think we'll take, because we are taking positions or potentially taking, we're taking some type of position, whether it's not taking a position tonight, we will be taking positions on each. So I think we'll take them individually. So Article 3 is a vote to appropriate $623,000 from general fund revenue.
$623.
Yeah, 600.
1,000.
Did I say 1,000? Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
It says $623 right in front of me. From general fund revenues for fiscal year 2015 to fund transportation costs for homeless or unanticipated transportation. If you could address that, please.
Sure. So we have an obligation to support our students who either live in Auburn and become homeless and live in a shelter in another community to transport them back, or if they start in another community and then become homeless and are living in Auburn in a shelter, that we share 50% in those costs. So this is really seeking reimbursement for costs that we have outlaid last year. And in fact, we had outlaid almost $1,200, a little over $1,200. The state is only reimbursing slightly more than 50%. So the way that this is returned to us is it goes to the general fund, and then we need to ask for it back to the school department.
Are there any questions or comments? Mr.
One quick
Holstrom?
question. And there's no way that the school department can absorb a 623 in light of the size of the budget? And I know that our CFO has mentioned a few things about taking a look at the numbers and how we're adjusting here, so I'd like
Sure.
to hear from that.
So in terms of that, last year, for example, we had a $12,000 cost, and that was reappropriated back to the schools that we had spent. On principle, the fact that the school department had paid over $1,200 in support of our students, as we have an obligation to do, and this was money that the general fund was not anticipating, I believe it makes sense to have it come back to the school, quite honestly.
Thank you.
And I'll just add that all of these articles, if approved as presented, including Article 2, all of these are presented as a balanced budget. So, are there any other questions? Is there a motion on a position?
Make a motion, we recommend.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So Article 3 is 4-0, okay. Article 4 is to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate a sum of $20,432.61 from available funds, school restitution for the addition of new playground equipment and the renovation of the current playground equipment at Packagug School to ready it for K through 2 students who will be educated there. Dr. Brunel.
As Chairman Goodrich just explained, so as we transport our students, or transfer them, I should say, from Mary D. to Packagug, this cost here will be actually to lower the equipment that is there and make it safe, and also to add some swings. It is our intention, working hopefully with the DPW, to take some of this smaller equipment that's here to put it up at Packagug. Using this account, this fund actually came from, and it was prior to my tenure as superintendent, but there was a theft that had occurred in the schools, and as part of a litigation and settlement, this money was to replenish the schools and is currently unmarked of where it needs to go. So it would actually be transferring it out. It's school department money, and we want to use it for this purpose for the students.
Great. Mr. Holstrom.
Yeah, and along with this, you're talking about $20,432 and some change. With Julia Bancroft and Mary D. going to be absorbed by the town some way, one way or another, is there any way that we can reduce that figure as far as we've got playground equipment here and at JP? Can we utilize that and cut the cost down?
So we will utilize what's available or appropriate here at Mary D. The issue of the playground equipment at Julia Bancroft is that's geared for grades 3 to 5 students as well, and that's what we have at Packagug. So a large portion of this cost is actually to reduce the size, to bring it down, and to have it done by professionals who do this work. The other issue is we don't have a tremendous amount of room available there. We do have fields that are used by the town and obviously by the students, as well as parking. So this figure, we will certainly supplement with what's available and appropriate, but this is really needed to bring what's there to an appropriate level for the younger students.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Does
Mr.
this have
Carpenter?
zero on the balance?
It will. This will use the entire balance, yes.
Now, is more money expected, or is this is all,
This is a resolved issue.
okay?
It is.
Are there any other questions or comments? Is there a motion regarding the position?
I'll make a motion, we recommend.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Article 5, to see if town meeting will vote to amend CIP Program Article 4 of the May 1st, 2008 annual town meeting as follows: delete the balance of $73,833.57 from the school rehabilitation account and add $73,833.57 for the replacement of the roof and boiler at Auburn Middle School and a roof replacement at Bryn Mawr Elementary School as part of the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program. Dr. Brunel.
So actually, Articles 5 through 9, and I'm happy to address each one
Yeah.
individually, but this being the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program, it was actually Mr. Gray at the time and I who came in, Mr. Fahey, back this spring. The goal of this, we do need a new roof at Auburn Middle School, the current Auburn Middle School, and Bryn Mawr School, and a boiler replacement. By us being invited into this program after applying, we have the potential to receive reimbursement for the town of up to 50% of the cost of these. So we are estimating, this is a long process to go through, but we're estimating by doing these transfers and reprioritizing money that we could save the town between $600,000 and $1 million. So with each of these items, it's always about setting priorities, and sometimes those priorities shift as we need to make these. We feel making these transfers and adjustments at the thought of the potential to save this $600,000 to $1 million is well worth these transfers for needed repairs.
Right. And Dr. Brunel, these are items that we've reviewed at a joint meeting, that we've had the charts and
Correct, so you had a
they've
full
gone.
chart. So it was first presented back in January, I think it was January 27th of 14, and then we came to you again and shared a letter that was addressed to Mr. Jack McCarthy of MSBA and outlined these items. So this is another step in the MSBA
Right.
Accelerated Repair process.
So this is, again, moving in the direction of support from the MSBA for reimbursement. So if you want me to read all the articles, I'm happy to, but Dr. Brunel mentioned it's article, does that include?
9.
Article 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, which all approves funding for the Accelerated Repair Program. Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, I do have a question. I think I addressed it at the January meeting, and I'm going to ask again. The monies that are being transferred are for the primary buildings and are not for the additional, what am I looking for? The additional buildings outside, the modular classrooms.
Correct, these would be...
This is only going to be for the main buildings themselves, so we are not going to be adding any of that money into the modular classrooms.
Correct.
Correct. MSBA, my understanding is they don't participate in modulars. So the work is going to be primarily just for the schools.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Are we going to take these all as,
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Kazanovich would like to.
Dr. Brunel, these amendments, does this provide 100% of the funding in order to get the roof replacement, or just the town share?
The town share.
Town share only?
Mhm.
Okay.
Is there a concern?
So if the project does not get approved by MSBA,
So this is the next step in the process, is to have these reappropriated. We're in the process of getting an owner's project manager as well as a consultant who will come on, who will actually get us a price available. So we've got to go through this. Each step is required before the next can be taken up. So we should have that information. We're hoping we actually have a conference call scheduled for tomorrow. We're hoping that we will have that information within the next month or two. But it will not be until after the town meeting, I would suspect.
So the way these articles are worded, it's, you know, as part of the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program. So if MSBA doesn't approve these, then they don't go forward
I
with
think
these
it puts
articles?
our funding in place, which is the next step in getting a consideration or an approval
Okay.
for the project,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Right. We have to demonstrate that we've got the available funding
Yeah.
ready.
Right, okay. Are there questions? So,
yes, I do.
Mr. Holstrom,
Okay. Are we taking these individually, or are we going to take them as the group?
I'm happy to take them individually. They all
Okay.
present a balanced budget, and they're all regarding the MSBA
That's fine.
Accelerated.
Well, then I guess I do have a question on Articles 8 and Article 9.
Okay,
They are going to delete the balance of funds of $57,613 for the central office. And in Article 9, just see what we got here. And $55,000 for the central office, which is a little over $100,000, $110,000. If you're deleting that from the central office, what are your plans for the central office? And it sounds like it's deferred maintenance or deferred repairs to that building, so we want to check and see where we're going with that and
Sure.
what your plans are.
So from the school department's perspective right now, and when we spoke to the town's people about the Auburn Middle School, the Randall Building and Fire Station is set to stay for as long as need be. We're happy to be there. We're also happy to move elsewhere if there's a decision made to repurpose Randall as a central office. We just need a place that we can be together. So there is a reuse committee that's being populated right now that's looking at the elementary schools. I'm not sure whether or not that would entail any review of Randall, but these two dollar amounts you just mentioned were really for air conditioning or HVAC and EMS upgrades. So it certainly is deferring something, and we'll continue with the window air conditioners that we have. Again, all in an effort to find funding to save potentially the $600 to $1 million.
Okay, just to follow up, so this will not affect the operation or the condition of that building to transfer this money over into the new project?
Correct, it will not. We have set aside monies for any potential safety issues, so this will not mean we have to leave there. Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So however the board wishes to take these articles, I'll take a motion on a recommendation.
I'll just make a recommendation that we recommend approval of Articles 5 through 9.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Thank you very
opposed to
much.
voting? Thank you.
Thank you.
And your last article is Article 10?
And I, with your permission, I think Mr. Coyle may be of help with this one. Do you want to address this?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Before you this evening is the plan of the improvements of West Street to my right that show the widening to basically a 3-lane.
Excuse me one minute, Mr. Coyle. Can members see the charter? Would you prefer that?
We can certainly view it if we need to get up. We can
Okay.
view
Oh,
it.
okay, all right, because we're happy to move for you, sorry.
Essentially, it shows a 3-lane cross-section. There are 2 lanes on West Street approaching Route 12. This is all to accommodate the new middle school. There'll be an exclusive left turn lane, and then the furthermost right lane will actually be a combination left turn lane through and a right. So essentially, that'll function as a double left turn lane from West Street to turn left onto Route 12. And there'll be 1 lane turning from Route 12, turning right onto West Street, and then there'll be a protected turn lane left into the school facility. And if I go to the drawing, you won't be able to hear me, but I'll be happy to answer any questions. But essentially, the article before you this evening, Article 10, is to allow for the town to purchase 3 land takings. I know currently there are appraisals being made of these properties. They're relatively small, but they are on the southerly side of West Street, so on the school side of West Street. The bulk of the takings are from town property, so that would just be transferred over from, for example, fire department property and school property to town right-of-way. But the 3 takings consist of 1 from, it says Mass Electric, but it's National Grid, 1 from Mass DOT, which is just basically a transfer from one highway purpose to another, and 1 from Perro's Auto Body. In addition to that, there are several temporary easements, essentially on the north side, on the residential side, and that's essentially for sloping and grading work, for loaming and seeding, and for driveway improvements as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I just want to give you a brief overview of what the takings and the easements were for. And again, I know that we do not have exact dollar values at this point, but those appraisals will be in hand prior to town meeting, so there will actually be a dollar value associated with these takings at that point.
And this, I'm sorry, if I may, Madam Chair, this is a requirement of one of the conditions of the planning board for approval for the Auburn Middle School.
Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, through the chair, I don't know who can answer this, but I guess The article reads, to see if the town meeting will vote to approve the expenditure of a sum of money from the appropriation for construction of the Auburn Middle School. Now, can we use that money for appropriate that money for the eminent domain, for purchase of land, for any of that? Can we use that? Or is that we gonna wind up, the town paying for that additional land?
Mr. Kesnovich.
Through the chair, the article is written, it actually allows the use of the original authorization of $44.5 million for the construction of the Auburn Middle School. Construction, equipment, and FF&E, furnishings for the school. They call it construct, furnish, and equip. In order for the town to take any land, we consulted with bond counsel because we asked whether we could amend the original article or whether it would have to be a standalone article. They're suggesting a standalone article that refers back to the original authorization that was approved under Article 17 of the May 2013 town meeting. That's the 44.5. This would allow us to spend a portion of that 44.5 for this purpose as identified here.
So it would not be above the
No.
appropriated money for
No.
the school?
Correct.
And I would support this, reason being that West Street, with the amount of traffic that's going to increase out there, and being over that road as many times as I have, I think it does need the improvements, and I think it'll be a safety factor for the new building.
And I'll just ask, or confirm, this appropriation certainly came into consideration through the process, including the planning board process. Although we don't have the dollar value attached tonight, I'm sure that there's an idea of what it will be, and that was taken into consideration with the total dollar value for the school.
Correct, it
Okay.
was, yes.
Great, I just wanted to
And
confirm
I
that.
don't know, Mr. Coyle may have mentioned it too, it also includes a sidewalk along the school side to Route 12.
Great. Are there other questions or comments?
I guess one question, because we don't know the money amount, should we wait until we get that figure before town meeting, or can we go forward with that tonight? Will that affect-
The appraisals won't be available till a week before town meeting,
Yes.
roughly?
Yeah.
So you may want to, although you're not really appropriating money, you're
Authorizing.
authorizing, or town meeting is authorizing the expense of a portion of that 44.5.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thank you. I think that's it.
Great, and I do want to just take an opportunity to thank the Selectmen once again for your support of the middle school project. We're making great progress on it, and also to the townspeople in Auburn, so
Great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Chief Coleman, if you want to join us for Article 11, you can come right up. Good evening. So I'll just read Article 11. To see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $7,500 from general fund revenues to install floor drains on the apparatus floor at the Fire Station 2 on West Street. Good evening. If you
Good
can
evening.
Tell us what this is all about.
Sure, thank you. This article, as stated, would make some necessary repairs to the apparatus floor at Station 2. The current station, as you're aware, was the former elementary school, and the trucks, the floor space that the trucks sit on is the original concrete floor from the school's cafeteria. So the floor was never really designed to carry the weight that it's carrying now. We do have some deterioration on the floor, closest to where the doors are. As the trucks roll out the lip, the concrete is deteriorating there. This $7,500 request is actually a scaled-back version after talking with the town manager and the CFO in a meeting last week. My original request was going to be for $25,000 to completely refinish the floor, dig it up, pour a new concrete floor, that also has some pitch to it. One of the problems that we have is the floor is completely flat. There is no pitch. So when the trucks come back, whether they're washed or snow or rain, when all of the water comes off the trucks, it sits freestanding on the floor. The only drainage that we have on the floor is the single 3-inch drain that's in the middle of the floor, again, designed as the original cafeteria. But in those conversations that we had last week, much like Dr. Brunel just mentioned a little while ago, we felt best to sort of scale the project back to come up with a workable solution until some more permanent decisions can be made about what the future of West Street is going to be, not only for the school department, but for the fire station. The floor is only one of many repairs that need to be done at that building. So we all felt that a better evaluation of the facility needs to happen before we make those kind of recommendations. In consultation with the DPW, we feel that the $7,500 will at least alleviate what I feel is a safety concern with the freestanding water on the floor. The plan would call for the DPW in conjunction with some fire department staff to basically cut a trench in front of the 3 bay doors at the station. We would cut a trench about a foot wide, put the floor, it would basically be a large grate. So the entire front of the door would be drainage for the water to go. We could push the water. We're still going to have to manually push the water with the squeegees, again, because it's flat. It's not going to move on its own. But right now, trying to get the amount of water that sits on the floor through a 3-inch drain, it's just not working. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll vouch for that. Many, many nights and many, many days of that snow coming off the trucks. After it melted, you had to go someplace, and that drain was not handling it any longer. I guess one question through the chair, is that, when you're talking about putting in the drain, is it going to be on the inside or the outside?
The inside of the
It's going to be
station.
on the inside,
Correct.
because I remember we used to squidgy the water out. You used to go down the ramp and freeze, and which was very, very unsafe, so I was curious as to what way it was going.
Yeah, it would be
And
indoors.
it appears you've thought this out well, and it's just unfortunate it's been this long that I had to go and squeegee that water out before. Thank you.
More than welcome to come back and squeeze it anytime you'd like.
Oh, I'm sure. Thank you.
And I just want to comment on your, your statement regarding the original 25,000 and scaling it back to the 7,500. Certainly, over the last several years, we've seen such a sense of cooperation, not just within the municipal side with department heads and the CFO and the town manager, but also with the school side, and looking at the needs for the long-term future, and not just, I want this now, let's fix it, it's my department. So I appreciate your scaling it down and working with everyone for the best of the town and seeing what the future holds for everyone. So thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could, I just want one more point as to why I put this request on for the fall town meeting and did not make this part of my CIP, is because I want to try to get this done for this winter. I really don't want to go another winter with the freestanding water
Yeah.
and the issues. So that's why originally this was going to be part of the CIP for next year. But I didn't feel with this particular issue that it could wait. I really would like to get this work done in December, so that's why I chose to pull it out of CIP and make the request now.
Great. Mrs. Brotherton?
I'm not so sure, Chief, that you're going to have to worry about it. The forecast for this winter is warm and 70.
Oh, very good.
That's what I hear on the streets.
We're all set then.
We're all set. No need for drainage.
Is there a motion made?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thanks so much for coming
Thank
in.
you very much. Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Chief.
Okay. So we are going to move on to Articles 12 through 23, with the exception of Article 13 and 21. And we are going to invite the DPW Director up to address these articles. So Article 13 and 21 are by the Town Manager. The remaining articles are by the DPW Director. So we will invite the DPW Director and the Assistant DPW Director and our Cemetery Superintendent.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, do you want to go?
You want
I
to
think I would-
introduce your,
To my left is Jeff Mitchell, the Assistant DPW Director, and Wayne Bloomquist, the Parks Cemetery Recreation Director.
Great, thank you. So Article 12 is to see if town meeting will vote to amend CIP Article 3 of the May 7, 2012 annual town meeting as follows. Amend the balance of funds of $40,000 originally scheduled to be used for the new bath fixtures to $20,000 for bathroom renovations and $20,000 for handicapped access improvements.
Okay.
Mr. Coyle?
This particular project is at the senior center, and the facilities division is just finishing up at the police station, and we're going to be beginning work at the senior center on the handicap entrance. And in reviewing the work that's needed, they currently have a CIP, and I don't have the exact number, but I believe somewhere in the order of $35,000 to do the work. And there is a need for 2 main entrance handicap doors, but also 3 additional handicap doors, repairs to the roof, relocation of an interior wall, because when you enter into the senior center, to accommodate the handicap accessibility requirements, you need a 5-foot clear span in order to turn the wheelchairs. So based on that, we feel as though there's additional funds that are going to be needed. We've already gone out to bid for the handicap doors. If by chance it didn't pass, we would have to obviously not award that contract. We haven't, the bid opening is a week from Thursday. So we do have the ability to modify that as well. The remaining balance of $20,000 we feel is sufficient to do the work for the bathrooms that is needed. So this is essentially reallocating funds that have already been approved on the CIP, so it's not additional, it's not new money, but it's reallocation of existing funds.
So the handicap access that you described, those are the front 2 doors in the building, but you mentioned 5?
Yes, when you first come in, you have the porch area or foyer.
Yeah.
It'll be a centrally located handicap access door to get you into the porch area, and then another door which will get you into the main lobby.
Okay.
And then when you turn to the right, there's a separate door as well there that goes into the function room.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 additional doors that go through the back exit, which is actually used as an entrance from people from Auburn Housing Authority. So there are 2 doors there as well, which are just a 42-inch door. So those will be single doors, but they will also be push-button handicap actuated doors.
And that'll be the access at the rear of the building to the left? Not through the kitchen, but through the...
Right, correct.
Okay.
And then also additionally, in the front entrance, there's an issue with an icing problem.
Yes.
That we're also removing a portion of the roof or the porch area where there's a valley, so that will be removed, and that door will be relocated closer to the porch, so that when you look at the building right now, you have a small hip roof that'll be removed off the porch, and it'll be more evenly balanced from
Okay.
what's there currently.
And you feel that this will address that ice issue that
Yes,
they brought to your
that's-
attention last year?
That's
Okay.
that's what our hopes are, that it'll remove that valley, and it should function similar to the other side where there is no icing problem currently.
Great, okay. Are there questions or comments? Is there a motion on Article 12?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, so voted. Moving on to Article 14, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend CIP Article 3 of the May 5th, 2011 annual town meeting as follows. Delete the balance of $5,050 for highway roof and add install 10 feet power angle plow on highway backhoe.
There are several articles this evening relative to plow equipment, and
Do you wish to take them together? I see. Is it Article 14, 15,
14,
16.
15, 16,
17?
17,
Wow.
and I think that's it. 14, 15,
Oh,
16,
the other's a mower, yeah,
17.
okay.
All 4 of these articles essentially are because we had 3 large 6-wheel dump trucks that did not pass inspection this year.
Okay.
They are all in the late 80s to early 90s vintage. The frames are deteriorated to the point we can no longer keep them on the road. We do have 1 new truck that's on order, which we probably won't be getting until sometime between February to April. So chances are, we may not even get that truck till winter's over. So we are looking to modify our backhoe so that we're able to plow with the backhoe. That has a cost of about $8,400, but it'll provide us with an additional piece of equipment for plowing. We're going to be retrofitting the F-550, which is one of the newer pickup trucks that was purchased recently, with a wing plow attached to it. That particular truck will probably mobilize to the center of town, where there's a lot of neighborhood streets, so it's a smaller piece of equipment versus the six-wheel dump, but it's very versatile. And that cost was $33,000, but it'll give us a large pickup truck with a wing attached.
Also includes a sander.
And includes, thank you, Jeff. And that also includes a sander to be inserted into the back of the truck as well. In addition, there is one of the other trucks will have an expandable plow so that it's actually on Jeff Mitchell's pickup truck, which will go from an 8-foot plow to a 10, so you'll be able to expand that plow. So because of the loss of these three larger trucks, we're trying to come up with a way that minimizes the cost of the town to be able to get us through the winter, and recognizing we're getting one new truck this year, and this will also provide us with an ability in the future. We'll have the backhoe. If one of the trucks goes down, they'll be able to use as a spare. So
is it Article 15 that Mr. Mitchell just referenced with the sander, the closed spreader control system?
No, that remaining 1,900, the Cirrus unit is the units that we have been installing onto all of our newer trucks so that we have a digital readout of how much salt we're using.
Right.
Also allows a calibration.
Right.
So will the new sander that you're talking about be equipped with that?
No, the new one that's coming this spring will be. The smaller pickup truck will not.
Okay.
Where it's such a small quantity, we wouldn't,
Okay.
it may not be long-term, we wouldn't retrofit that truck with it.
Okay. Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, under Article 17, through the chair, it's showing that you're going to delete the balance of $40,000 in that account for a loader lease purchase and add the retrofit of the sewer pickup. Where's that $40,000? Is that going to be a deferred cost for the loader, or is that $40,000 that you didn't use to purchase?
This was $40,000 from a previous CIP that wasn't needed. It was the bids either came in lower than was expected. So it's not additional funds needed in the future, it's expending funds that we did not utilize.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any, Mrs. Brotherton?
I'm going back to basics. How many plows do we have?
We send out 20 pieces of equipment, of town equipment. And I'd have to count up, I think maybe 10 or 11 large trucks, and then we have about 10 or 11 smaller pickup trucks that we send out. And then we utilize typically about 12 private contractors. But normally, we do not have any trucks remaining. We might have one backup pickup truck during a storm, and typically something goes down, someone's jumping in that. So we don't have a lot of depth for any breakdowns. So we always have our mechanic on duty during a storm.
Right.
And it's constant. People are pulling in, and he's, doing triage on that piece of equipment and getting it back on the road. So we try to utilize every piece of equipment we have. We have even right to our full-time janitor is out plowing. So we try to minimize how many private contractors we bring on board.
Right, thank you.
Is there anything else on this? So we're looking at Articles 14, 15, 16, and 17. Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Article 18, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend CIP Article 3 of the May 7, 2013 annual town meeting as follows. Delete $14,000 for slope riding mower and add $5,600 for walk-behind mower, replacing a 1999 mower, and $8,400 to be used for fencing around the playground at Rocketland. Mr. Coyle?
Thank you. This article is mainly the need of replacing a walk-behind mower that has evolved over the past 6 months. And originally, we had put in for the slope mower to assist in mowing the landfill. We feel as though we have more of a need now to replace the walk-behind mower. We'll be able to continue with the brush hog at the landfill and continually use the walk-behind mowers for the other areas as well. So it's more of a greater need for replacing this mower and foregoing the need for the slope mower.
Okay. And the fencing?
The fencing, we've had several concerns brought to our attention at Rocket Land, where it's adjacent to the parking lot. Parents are very concerned with, children running out into the parking lot. So these dollars wouldn't be sufficient, the $8,400, to completely encompass the entire park, but it certainly should get us across the parking lot to protect the kids from running out into the parking lot.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, so voted. To see, Article 19, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend Article 29 of the May 5th, 2011 annual town meeting line item mapping for fiscal year 12 from the expendable trust cemetery perpetual care account with $998.50 for cemetery,
Columbarium.
no, I lost my place, Columbarium Foundation, so for cement, I'm sorry, that's where I lost the word, cement.
This particular article, the cemetery in Wayne has spent a lot of time on. This project is moving forward with purchasing the columbarium for the ashes to be placed. And these funds would be to allow for the pouring of the concrete. The amount of the CIP is just sufficient enough to purchase the columbarium, so we'll need additional funds to pour the foundation.
And that only requires $998?
Well, we'll be doing our own work.
Great, okay. Questions or comments? Seeing none, is there? Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 20, to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $1,400 from the expendable trust cemetery perpetual care account for the purchase of a cemetery backhoe bucket.
This particular bucket is designed to accommodate the width of a vault for the cemetery department. Currently, the bucket they have now isn't sufficient for the work that's being done, so this would allow for them to utilize a different bucket on the machine.
Great. Any questions?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Article 21, to see if the town meeting will vote to grant the town I'm sorry, I was skipping over that one. Article 22, to see if the town meeting will vote to accept the remaining portion of West View Street from Station 0+00 to the end as shown on the plan prepared by Cullen Engineering Company entitled Westview Street, Auburn, Massachusetts, dated August 7th, 1967. The total length of Westview Street should be approximately 631 feet. And Mr. Coyle, this
Thank
is
you.
one that we had a street layout hearing on?
Yes, this was one that was originally a citizen's petition in the spring, and for whatever reason, we were unable to complete the process prior to town meeting, and at that time, I had committed to bringing it before the town meeting members for approval, and Westview Street was built back in the late 60s, early 70s, and the first 364 feet of it was accepted, but for whatever reason, the balance of the 267 feet was not accepted, but it was constructed in accordance to the plan at the time, and it's one of these roads that had gone through the planning board process and had never been ultimately accepted, so it's just trying to clean up some loose ends from years past.
Okay, and we had determined that there were no outstanding issues on that road?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. And finally, for Mr. Coyle, Article 23, to see if the town meeting will vote to accept the entire length of Santam Street from South Street to the terminus, approximately 1,480 feet, as shown on the plan prepared by Cullen Engineering, entitled Definitive Subdivision Plan, owned by James and Stephanie Lundgren, Santam Street, dated August 30th, 2006. We haven't had the street layout hearing on this.
Correct. The street layout hearing is on the 14th.
Okay.
The work on the actual subdivision, the bulk of the work was completed several years ago, but the final top course was placed within the past month, and it was paved all the way to South Street. So in addition to the extension that was done, the part of the planning board approval process was to have the entire roadway paved, which it has been done. We have conducted reviews of the of the work, and we're satisfied with what's been completed out there. But again, we haven't had the layout hearing at this point.
Right, so it would be prudent to take action. And, Mr. Bernie, did this go before the planning board, and we expect to have a report at our next Board of Selectmen meeting?
That's correct.
Thank you so much.
Make a motion that we hold the meeting before town meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thanks so much,
Thank
all
you.
three of you, for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks, good night.
Going back, we have two articles left. Article 13, to see if town meeting will vote to appropriate a recommended sum of $200,000 from overlay surplus to the stabilization fund. This is by the town manager. Mr. Kasnovich.
To the members of the board, through the chair, this actually is proposed to sweep some overlay surplus savings that have been recently certified by the assessor for FY 10, 11, and 12. FY 10, 10,000, FY 11, 25,000, FY 12, 165,000. These funds are now available because of a position we took as one of our financial policies. We're no longer using overlay surplus to fund our general fund operating needs on an annual basis, as well as free cash. As a result of that, this now becomes available for other purposes. We recently got a rating review by Moody's and Standard & Poor's. We brought those reports to you. We do have a positive outlook for Moody's. We think that it's in the town's best interest to continue to fund stabilization in order to get that upgrade. And that's why we're proposing this article to town meeting, and I'm looking for your support.
So I just have one question. If there was a consideration to, just because we did hold the article, to recommend increasing the Auburn Youth and Family Services at $7,500, where would that money come?
Well, we would recommend that it come out of new growth.
Okay.
Or tax levy. You
So
gotta
it wouldn't-
remember,
it wouldn't
we're
come
only
out of-
taxing, when we went to town meeting, first of all, we don't want to fund it through overlay surplus, because overlay surplus is a one-time recognition of revenue. It's not reoccurring. In order to support a increase in Auburn Youth and Family Services, we're going to have to be able to support that in future years as well. It wouldn't be fair to give $15,000 and then following year take it away if we can't support it. So that's one of our concerns.
I just wanted to confirm that it wouldn't come out of Article 13, just for the record.
Correct.
Motion that we recommend.
Is there a second for discussion?
Second.
Mrs. Brotherton, did you have a question?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I didn't hear your question.
So, if there was consideration for increasing Auburn Youth and Family Services, recommending to town meeting the increase of $7,500 for Auburn Youth and Family Services, it would not come out of this article.
Okay, thank you.
Recommended, the motion is to recommend approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. And so, that's what I get when I jump around. I know we have one left.
21.
Thank you. Article 21, to see if the town meeting will vote to grant the town manager authority to research, develop, and participate in a contract or contracts to aggregate the electricity load of the residents and businesses in the town and for other relative services independently or joint action with other municipalities, retaining the right of individual residents and businesses to opt out of the aggregation. And this is by the town manager. I mean,
If I may, ask Adam to speak
I
on
know.
this?
And this is a hot-button issue this week, it certainly is. So we're taking a step in the right direction if we approve this. Good evening. And we thought that we saw you lastly at our last meeting. The town
I
manager
get the
said-
pleasure of this one more time.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Essentially what this is there are companies out there who go and aggregate electricity. They get communities to buy in, so they may take, and this is an example, it's not, we don't know who this would be, but they might take Auburn, Leicester, Spencer, Holden, Paxton, and Rutland. And they would all buy into this. They would put them together as a block. And the bulk of those communities' residents going out and buying electricity together can get a better rate than an individual going and trying to find their own new supplier. So it's an alternative to using the National Grid or NSTAR or whoever the default utility is in the area. And so what they do is they buy up, or they get buy-in from a number of communities. They take that block and they go out and they bid for energy on the open market. And it's generally a 6 to 12 month bid, and they do it over and over and over. Now, it's an opt-out program, so if town meeting chooses to approve the article, everybody in town, resident and business, is in the program. As part of the contract that the town manager signs with whichever company it is, they send around a little card or information packet that says, "Welcome to aggregation." It gives a quick, synopsis of what it is, and it gives you the opportunity to fill this card out, send it to this address, and they opt out. There's no cost to the government in this in any way. The aggregator, the community technically becomes the aggregator, but you work through a secondary provider, and they do all of the packaging, they do all of the bidding, they do all of the everything. Nothing changes on electricity bill, and I'm sure you all can recall Mr. Platukis talking about the energy bill, the top and the bottom. Top is transmission, bottom is the cost of the actual energy. The top's not going to change. You're still transmitting over those lines, you're still paying that cost. Your cost per kilowatt hour is going to drop based on the actual cost of the energy, in theory. Oftentimes, these things, electricity markets are based on natural gas markets, so they kind of do this, and they're forecasting out, so it's not going to be, you're not going to get one price and it's going to be that for the rest of the aggregation. But in theory, the way that it works is you save based on a comprehensive savings over the period of the aggregation. Hopefully that wasn't too convoluted.
No, because actually we've, at least I've had many conversations with the town manager. I mean, I'm sure you all, received the email regarding the savings for the town signing on for the municipal side with Constellation. And we won't see, the town won't see that 37% increase. But these words, research, develop, and participate in a contract, on behalf of the residents, and where it has come to light, especially over the last week, we've encouraged the town manager to look to savings for the residents. But with the conversations happening now, with the, the 37% increase with National Grid, especially on social media, you're hearing from residents all over who are saying, I tried this company, but it was like a pyramid scam or a scam, and this article, and I hope that you support it, allows the town manager the authority to research and develop and present the best plan possible to the residents. I mean, I can't see that we'll get it done for this winter in that proposed 37 cent. I mean, I'm sure she's already working on it because we've been in these discussions for a long time, but
I think it's something that can potentially happen in a relatively short order. My sense on it is there's 2 or 3 groups that I know of that do this, that we've spoken to in some form. Generally, they spend the summer or the winter out stumping to the communities and convincing them that it's at least worth pitching to town meeting. They go through the town meeting season, then they get them all together. There's a DPU process for assigning an aggregator, and so you kind of shuffle that all around. I would expect that if this passes town meeting, they're probably looking at entering the energy market sometime in the early spring. And that would, that would be inclusive of the town manager negotiating the contract, the DPU process, the opt-out. I think there's a 30-day opt-out window before they go out to bid, and then a bidding process. And you mentioned people doing it on their own and finding pyramid schemes. All of the companies that we've spoken to about this have made some allusion to, some certainly more concrete than others, having a back-end staff for complaint issues, billing issues, that kind of stuff. And oftentimes, they're talking about a 24-hour service, similar to picking up the phone and calling National Grid or any of the other utilities where I've got this issue with my bill, and them working to hash it out.
Yeah. And I'll just absolutely say, I've had many conversations with the town manager regarding this, and I'm so thrilled that we're moving forward, not just to look for savings for the town, but for the residents, and have it done in a professional manner, that we, again, research, work through DPU, and present a plan for our residents to save on this cost. So, are there any questions, comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to vote? And thank you for
Thank you.
spending your last Monday evening with the town.
You'll see me for one
Yeah,
more
with us.
Tuesday evening.
Oh, you'll be here next, oh, you're going to come back, I
I
heard.
will.
That's very kind of you, thank you.
Thank you.
Some items you had in the hopper, but you start what, next Tuesday?
A week from today, Monday.
Wow. Oh, yeah, we're not at the holiday yet.
Not yet.
All right, best of luck in your new position.
Thank you.
You'll be sorely missed.
Thank you.
So, do you have anything else, Mr. Kazanovich, on
Do
the
not.
warrants?
Take a vote to approve the warrant. That's
Oh, we just need a motion to approve the warrant.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do you need us to sign it live, or can we sign it at the end of the meeting?
You can sign at the end.
Okay. We have no town manager items, we have no tabled items, we have no Board of Selectmen items. Is there any public comment? We have no minutes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.